Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Eternal Sonata playthrough. We're back in Retardando, and it's time to rejoin Allegretto and Beat. Yay!
Wow, Retto, this is the first time I'm going outside Retardando.
It's not like we're going on a picnic, Beat. Don't get so excited.
Yeah, I know that, Retto. We're going to help Retardando's poor by getting the leaders to lower taxes on stuff besides the mineral powder, right? That way everyone can afford blankets and cheese and all the honey-covered bread they could ever possibly want. Then everyone can finally be happy, right, Retto?
That's exactly right. Hey, I'm proud of you, Beat. We can't solve things by just stealing bread. We have to uncover the real root of the problem.
Yeah, you said it. So, where are we going anyway?
You mean you don't know? Jeez, I take back what I just said. We're heading to Forte Castle to talk to the guys in charge. Come on, let's go.
Hey, Retto, wait up!
So, yes, we have our first goal, and that is to head on over to Forte Castle to speak to the guys in charge, to try and get them to lower taxes on everything else that's not mineral powder. I do have a feeling that they're being very naive in thinking that the big boss people that make all the laws and stuff are gonna listen to that. Like, you've got two orphan kids who steal things, and they're basically going, yeah, can you lower taxes so that we can all afford stuff? Yeah, no. Generally in those situations, you're dealing with a dictator who has set the taxes incredibly high and everything else for a very specific reason. So you might struggle in persuading them to sort things out, because it's probably the way they want it. But it does bring up an interesting point, and that's something that, if you recall, I don't remember whether it was the last part or one of the previous three parts, but I mentioned there was an article that discussed the cultural significance and like the critical reading of Eternal Sonata. Ashley went on to read that article, and it was incredibly fascinating. There was a bit of reading it, I was a bit like, not sure of this being a hugely successful critical article, if only because it didn't really seem to have much of a hugely interesting point to make, and it didn't really go very deep into Eternal Sonata, but this is fine. But what it talks about is how Eternal Sonata is very much based around innocence versus experience, in terms of how it perceives its societal statements. And there's so many conversations throughout Eternal Sonata. So many. I mean, you've already seen by the fact that a lot of the cutscenes are very lengthy, and oftentimes they go really in depth in the discussions of what they're doing, even if it is really heavily beating the subject over the head. But you can already see it in Beat and Allegretto, because Allegretto is more experienced. There's still a bit of innocence there in that he thinks, yeah, we'll go to Forte Castle and make things right. But Beat is very innocent. He doesn't quite get how the world works, and so he thinks that in just getting taxes lowered, everything will be better. As more experienced human beings, we know that's not the case. Because you can lower taxes and therefore make everything cheaper, but then other things can occur that are going to really screw you over. I mean, a good example would be inflation. Because inflation therefore makes the price of things more expensive even if the tax isn't very high, and you sort of end up in this horrible fluctuating situation where nobody comes out the victor. It's the joy of economics. And to be fair, I don't really understand much of it myself. You see, this is why I did a literature degree, because I understand words and themes, and I'm quite happy to look into a little bit of history, a little bit of myth and legend, a little bit of... I mean, I'm quite happy to look into a bit of science. I mean, one of my dissertations was on the science of breathing and how breathing was used in literature in the Renaissance period. Yeah, proper full-on geek. All spawned by the fact that I really love the line "Pandemonium rose like an exhalation" in Paradise Lost by John Milton. So yeah, so I like all of that stuff, but yeah, economics, not my scene. Really not my scene. Did very well at A-level maths, but yeah, no, economics makes no sense to me. So don't really listen to me in my attempt to explain economics, because it's probably a load of cobbled together rubbish that makes absolutely no sense. But that's fine. Now, do you know, I'm going the wrong way. This is something that I find quite hilarious, is that the game doesn't really point you in the direction that you need to go. So I thought, oh, it's down here, it's along the beach. And I saw this and thought, oh yes, and then it's just like, oh, this isn't the way to Forte Castle? Oh. Interesting. But I'm glad that the game tells me that. I mean, I would say this is part of why I think a lot of people would say that Eternal Sonata is just a little bit too linear. And they're not wrong, because obviously the game's telling me, no, you can't go this way yet, go another way. Which is fine, because otherwise you get easily lost. But then I know that there are people who just be like, well, I just want to explore, I want to go the wrong way, and you can tell me I'm going the wrong way by various other means.
It's not going to be the same.
Like, you can stick really difficult enemies there to kind of go, you're not ready for this yet. But there we go.
Some good pictures.
Pictures? Come on, don't waste time on that stuff. You need to help me fight.
Hey, that's not nice. Don't say things like that. Taking pictures isn't a waste of time.
Fine, fine. You can tell me all about it later. Come on, let's get moving.
So, here we are, on the road to Forte Castle, in an area called the Agogo Forest, which is really beautiful. And I mean, basically, every location in this game is beautiful. I mean, like, seriously, it's amazing.
Our party level has gone up, and we're getting better at real fighting, so now I'm going to teach you something else that's
And
really
yes,
important.
because our party level went up, we're getting another little bit of a tutorial, which is very helpful,
Yeah, I know that.
because it is introducing
Come on, just listen.
new elements to the
Up until now, your
combat.
action gauge has only gone
So,
down when you're actually doing
definitely
it.
pay attention to this.
But from now on, as soon as you make your first move, your action gauge will just keep going down no matter what.
So yes, we are slowly but surely ticking up from purely
What it means
turn-based
is that even
battles,
when you're standing still,
with
time will keep
action
on
elements
passing.
in
If you're not
thing,
paying attention, your turn will be over
to
before you know
much
it,
more
and it'll be your
action-based.
enemy's
You
turn.
still take turns, so it is still turn-based battle, but it's
That's
much
no
more
fair.
action-oriented.
Fighting like that's gonna be really, really hard.
Yep, that's right. And that's where tactical time comes in.
Tactical time? What's that?
Because obviously, what is eventually going to occur as we keep upping the party level is that our tactical time is going to become limited. I mean, pretty much I think by the time you get to the highest party level, you get no tactical time whatsoever. You've got to make your move like that.
And that would mean...
And I think also the amount of action time you get as well gradually decreases, so rather than getting 5 seconds to make your move, you get like 4 seconds and then 3, I think. Can't remember whether that's definitely the case, but I seem to recall it being true. And this is the other awesome thing. Echoes.
Echoes?
An echo is what you get when your hit count reaches a certain number, and they just keep accumulating, right over here.
Oh, I get
Echoes
it.
are
In that case, we should
so
just use our
helpful in this
special
game.
attacks all the time.
And also
That way,
they're just
we'll be
really
building up lots and
epic.
lots of echoes, and our special attacks will just keep getting stronger
And,
and
oh,
stronger
beat.
because we'll have so many echoes. It's perfect. We'll be killing
Beat,
2
you
birds with
poor,
1 stone.
innocent
So
child.
smart.
That's not how echoes work.
Unfortunately, when you use your special attacks, all the echoes you've accumulated get used up. Basically, the power of your special attack increases, but you lose all of your echoes because of it. So, if you want to try and build up a lot of echoes, you can't do it by using your special attacks.
Oh, but how can you ever get enough echoes to use them with your special attacks? It must be really hard for one person to build up so many all by himself.
Hashtag teamwork.
That's right. And that's why we have to work together to build them up. Echoes don't just belong to you, they belong to everyone who's fighting.
But then that means that you could use up all the echoes that I had worked so hard to build up. That doesn't sound very fair, you know.
Come on, don't say things like that. I'm counting on you, partner.
So,
Look over there at that enemy.
we're now getting introduced to another element. Lots of
How did
elements.
that happen? It just
Hey! So
There are
yes,
some monsters that can
as Allegretto was saying,
depending on whether they're in sunlight
some
or in
monsters
shadow.
can change.
Some will get really strong, and some will even change the kinds of attacks they use. So you gotta be really careful.
Now, what I would definitely suggest is if you are... well, when you're in this area, if you can, try and fight the great coconuts rather than the empty coconuts? Whatever they're called. Just little small cute little things.
Have a nice nap.
Yeah, those things. Because when they are the great coconuts, you get more experience off of them. Annoyingly, this can lead to you having to sit around and wait for enemies to move into the shadow to be able to get them to transform into great coconuts. But I would say that it's definitely worth doing because they give so much more experience than the other enemies in this area. And it just furthers that whole thing of how shall I put it? Strategy. You've got to figure out exactly what you want to do, what enemies you want to take on, what enemies you don't, and that's just quite nice. And also, the thing that's quite exciting about the echoes is that effectively what you always want to do is you want to get up to about 24 hits at least, and then you'll get a super special attack. So your character will do like a big speech, and it's really quite epic. And there's one for each of the special moves that you do. This! And for starters, it's just epic, but also it's just a lot of fun, really. So the maximum amount of echoes that you can get is 32, I believe. It's much more... At the minute, it's quite challenging to get up to that level, because, I mean... You've only got 2 characters. Beat's not exactly the fastest character out there, which is annoying, but these things happen. As we progress throughout the game, it does get easier and easier and easier to build up echoes. So, really you do just have to wait a bit for the game to allow you that flexibility. But I do just love pulling off a fully echoed special attack because they're just so awesome. When we start getting brand new characters as well, it's just a joy. And so yes, we are just going to continue strolling on through the Go-Go Forest to sort things out. Now, a Go-Go. Continuing our musical education, shall we say, throughout this game. And a Go-Go is a single or multiple bell, which is now used throughout the world, but originally has its origins in traditional Yoruba music, and also in the samba baterias, which is percussion ensembles. The Go-Go may be the oldest samba instrument, and was ultimately based on, the West African Yoruba single or double bells, and has the highest pitch of any of the bateria instruments. Now, because I'm getting slightly confused by what the hell a Yoruba is, basically Yoruba is a language spoken in West Africa, and is specifically native to Nigeria, Benin and Togo. So it's that specific area of West Africa. However, the other regions in that area are, well, not necessarily in that area, but regions that have a significant population of the Yoruba people. Also includes Ghana, Ivory Coast, the UK actually, as well as the EU and North America. But obviously the primary source of the population is in Nigeria and Benin. And yes, that is where the source of this place's name comes from. So we're getting a lot of this, which I'm very grateful for. Because, one, it gives me trivia to talk about, always a delight, but also, as you probably guessed, I always like learning new things.
Right on.
Always, because it's fun and it's exciting, and you just feel so intelligent after you've learned something. You're just like, oh, I have learned. This is a success. Now, I believe the recommended level for this next boss is level 7. So, yes, just to make sure that we are ready, fully healed, because there's potential that this boss could be a bit of a challenge. I mean, it's pretty much the case with all of the bosses throughout the game. They can just prove a little bit challenging. And something that I would normally do is I always prefer the special attacks that have more hits on them. Just the way it rolled, it just feels better. And also you tend to get more hits. Because you get more hits, and you tend to cause a bit more damage. And that makes me happy. So, I remember when I first played the game, I pretty much stuck with Sun Slash throughout quite a lot of it, because it was just really, really, really good. But for the purposes of this playthrough, I am going to try and alternate my moves, so whenever we get a new move, I will endeavour to use it. There will perhaps be a few situations where that doesn't necessarily occur. I mean, definitely there's a character, basically our next protagonist that we're going to pick up. It's not going to be for a while. And they have a very, very, very helpful healing move. And so that's going to pretty much be a staple of whenever I use that character, because my god, I do not want to be without it. Because otherwise it would require me to use lots of items, and no, it's not happening. Anyway, yes, the baby dragon, it's kind of cute. And I kind of like its design, because it's a mixture of like a sort of Triceratops with a bug, with sort of, yeah, and a dragon. I quite like its design. It kind of comes out of nowhere, mind. This does confuse me as a boss. It's just like, just walking along and then suddenly, boss fight time. It's not like the Bread Gang or the Great Ball, which sort of, I mean, the Great Ball just sort of turned up out of nowhere. But it was you got to the end of the area, and it kind of made sense because it was protecting something, so to speak. Whereas this is just a baby dragon that's just randomly we run into. But hey, these things occur. And don't worry, I will do some echo moves with beats at some point. It will occur, don't you worry. Part of me is thinking, do I do a montage of all of the special moves at the end of this walkthrough as a sort of special extra? But then also, oh, there we go. I told you I'd do one eventually. But then part of me is also just like, that's a lot of effort. And as much as I love this game, I don't have that much time to be able to do this properly. So I'll probably just defer you to another place that has done that, because they do exist. But yes, the baby dragon is defeated. And I believe that it looks like it's about to rain. It's probably about time to switch protagonists, don't you think?
If we don't hurry, we're gonna get caught in the rain.
So what? We can handle a little rain. I mean, the hideout's roof leaks like crazy. And that's just when it drizzles.
Yeah, you got a point there.